Welcome to Reality After Show coverage of the Challenge Season 40. We are finally at the finale, part 1. And we're also finally back on YouTube live as we're going. So we have that going for us as well. Make sure to put your comments in on the side. I'm your host, Dan Montchal, joined as always, Alex Trias, Paulie Calafiore. I mean, we have Jordan dominating finals. We have Tuna Can Kyland and a lot of unnecessary talk on karma points. What do you guys think of the start, boys?
I'm not surprised at Jordan's performance in the slightest. I'm not surprised that Jordan is absolutely running away with this final with no chance, absolutely zero chance of anybody catching up, regardless of karma points.
Mm-hmm. Which, thank God for that, because we'll be talking about karma points and why certain people in the cast should probably stop being so defensive about it later on. Sort of burying the lead. But yeah, Jordan dominating as we expected. Like you hear enough times that dude's a triathlete, and then you actually see what a triathlete does in a final like this. This is a podcast where we give him his flowers constantly, and that's not going to stop.
No, especially
the second that it was swimming without a life vest, it was over. With a life vest on, if you have strong enough arms and legs and your cardio is good enough, you could just kind of float on the top of the water and go. It's a whole different monster swimming with no life vest, and that's where Jordan is just leagues beyond everybody else.
Well, and on top of that, you can be a good swimmer. That doesn't mean that you're a good distance swimmer. And we see that as these checkpoints keep going, is sure, he was out in front of everyone else when, stage 1 of it. But his lead keeps growing more and more because he's the best swimmer there and the only distance swimmer. So this is only going to get worse as the time goes on. That by the time we finished the second checkpoint, it was, we can just give Jordan first, give Kylan fourth, and everyone else can finish out their spots the rest of the way. Like, we don't need to keep doing this.
No, we don't have to. And because after Jordan, really, it's the girls for swimming wise, right after, across the board. And then it's Bananas, and then it's Derek, and then, there's probably a bunch of other things before Kylan, but then Kylan.
Is anybody shocked that after Jordan, none of the guys are swimming better than any of the girls?
I think it's... So I've been thinking about it, and part of me almost feels like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of it all. Like, you see how big of a lead Jordan has. And if you're like Bananas, who's now outside the first one, is getting second across the board. He's like, whatever, Jordan's winning. I'm playing for second place money right now. Like, all you have to do is pace yourself with your competition, which is both Derek and Kylan being slower. Where all the girls, it's still like a little tighter. Not by much based on the numbers I have in front of me, but it's a little tighter, so it's a lot more competitive. And then the karma points of it all also sort of ring true to all of this.
Yeah, it's just at this point, Bananas, he almost is smarter for pacing himself because no one's going to catch Jordan on the swim. And it's even if at some point, the later stages, there was more of, endurance for cardio that's put in running, like into an island, that obviously still benefits Jordan. But he is always going to be in this position where if you're Derek, Kylan, or Bananas and you're getting to a puzzle, you're immediately going to start frazzled, being like, I have to figure this out quick. Where Jordan can just be so relaxed, being like, well, even if one of them finishes the puzzle before me, I'll pass them on the water on the way back to the Sinister.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting though, because the one thing I do disagree with Bananas on, I do agree with conserving your energy. I think he conserved way too much in that first one. Like, when the breakdown of this game is going to be reliant, or a heavy factor is going to be, what did everyone on the cast that got eliminated rank you? Like, let's be real. Bananas is doing a very good job on this final. Like, if you remove Jordan from the equation, Jonny is beating the field at his age against younger, more fit guys he's crushing them because he does understand the final, knows that you have to pace yourself. But it's like, I'm almost at the mindset of like, you have to be more Jordan mindset of, I need to crush these endurance parts now because I can figure out the puzzle. I can figure out the stuff on land. But if these people suck at swimming, I need to separate myself fast because he needs to be bona fide second place, not close second place.
Yeah, and Jordan is doing just that on the swimming. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who has a crazy lead but is not leaving anything up to the karma points or even anything up to people getting within reach of him on the puzzles. You know, I'm actually pretty impressed at his performance on all of the other things because Jordan's he was never really known as like a puzzle guy. He's more of like, if there's a strategy thing, figure it out. So like he's good on a strategy thing, but we've seen it in, past finals where, he got left on the beach with Marlon, I believe.
Yep.
Couldn't figure out a puzzle. He was not good at any of the puzzles. Last time, War of the Worlds 2, but once again, he had someone like CT there. But even in that final, they couldn't figure out the puzzles in there, but they had such a long lead that they could have timed out at any checkpoint and it didn't matter. But now we're seeing this more complete player. And we've been saying it this whole time, talking about his social game being drastically different than any of the games that he's played before. It's been one of his top tier social games of all time. His daily performances, which are always there, but they really stood out this season. And now looking at his final performance, where usually someone like a Bananas or a Derek or even a Kyland, if he wasn't so terrible at swimming, could sit there and be like, all right, I know I'm going to give up the lead to Jordan in anything running or swimming related, but I'm going to catch up to him on the puzzle aspect of things. And he's leaving no doubt when it comes to that. It's just kind of like he is on a different level of flow this season.
Yeah, we've talked about it all season of saying he's playing one of the most dominant games we've ever seen. And this is just being highlighted more in this final because he's already played, like I said, arguably one of the best games you can possibly play we've ever seen in the challenge. And he's capping it off by not winning, but dominating a final.
Yeah, and like partially a big factor in that is let's be real. If it wasn't swimming, Jordan would still be in first. Maybe not as much of a lead in first because like you have Derek and Kylan, who are both very strong runners. Bananas knows how to run. Like those parts would make it a little closer if it was just all on land. I mean, you have this sort of like unprecedented season of you're putting everyone into the water. I feel like everyone knew immediately that, or at least from the guys' side, they're like, okay, well, Jordan's winning. We're all fighting for whatever the second place prize is at the moment. And like, I'm not discrediting what he's doing, but it's like, it's also the optics of what it is. And maybe that just goes to show, maybe if you're training and want to be serious about becoming a challenge champion, these are some of the things you have to put yourself into. Like Jordan puts his body through hell and through this work so that come final time, it doesn't matter if it's on land, if it's in water, if he's skydiving and breaking his fucking leg, he's going to still win.
Yeah. I think the better question is if you could pick, not just from this cast, any other challenger, can anyone touch Jordan in this final? Like, I know you'll say like Wes because he's a good swimmer, but like, is there anyone that really you could put in this final with Jordan that he doesn't dominate it?
And I wouldn't even say modern Wes. Like, I think Wes would still be a strong swimmer right now. But you'd be asking for like prime Wes.
Rivals 2 Wes.
Yes. Like when he won with CT, you win. Like even prime CT doesn't win this final because we never saw prime CT have to swim long distance.
Yeah. And I'm a good swimmer, but once again, that's why I said that the difference between a life vest and swimming normally is like maybe the first leg. It's staying whatever, but Jordan knows he's going to outpace whoever. If I tried to keep even close to Jordan's pace, I'm going to probably die worse than, you could even imagine. Wes, I think would put up a really great fight. But I've been on seasons where they've both swam. And Wes is a great and strong swimmer. He's not triathlon Wes. He would need to be rivals to Wes in the swimming aspect of things in order to even have a chance, because Wes could probably catch up in all of those little in between pieces of the final. But I don't think you would have to pick a prime somebody and put him against current Jordan to even have that discussion, because right now, as it stands, there is not a challenger that can keep up with Jordan in this kind of final.
Yeah, like I truly believe we're in a situation where we would have to be going beyond the challenge and go to actual professional athletes, like professional, like the Olympics of it all. Of like, you need that type of athlete. Not saying they have to be an Olympian, but like the people who train for Ironmans, triathlons, like when you run across the desert in like 2 days or whatever. Like that's the type of sickos and freaks. And maybe, you know what? Maybe those are the people we should be casting. But
yeah, I have a friend or two that has run like a triathlon, and I've seen it go out. It's because I'm a pretty like strong swimmer. I won't say I'm, amazing, but a pretty strong swimmer. And it's the pace that they keep, that they're not overly fast, but it's that distance, and they're never going to slow down. They're going to keep that same pace the entire time. So even if you're a strong swimmer, it's like, great, you kept up with them for a leg or two. Now you're gassed, and Jordan's still going in Jordan mode.
Yeah, and like the thing with Jordan is a great runner, and he explains it on the show constantly, is a great runner shouldn't be in the lead. They should be in the pocket of someone else, because you know that you can eventually on the back end pick that extra gear and then pass them. It happens in every track race, it happens in every swim race. But you even hear him on the episode, he's just like, I'm so much better a swimmer than all these people. And with the karma points, I can't even afford to do it. Even though you ask Jordan heart to heart, the only person who ranks him low is Tina. Like, we're talking about how great of a game is. If you're leaving the game where the only person who still has beef to you to this day and still tweeting you during the weekend of New Year's of 2025 is Tina, you did a pretty good job.
What is she even tweeting him about?
Calling him fake, essentially.
Calling him fake for what? Never getting
for not saving, for him and Nia not saving her.
I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, Jordan, here's the thing. In the water, there's no such thing as like being in a pocket, right?
No.
So if there was running in this, or let's say even if they threw cycling at some point, if we want to go the whole triathlon thing, that's where Jordan's mindset of like being in a pocket shows that he has just way more experience than these people. Because if you've never done that, then you have no idea how to kind of, get yourself in a pocket in order to avoid the wind hitting you, which is going to make you more tired if you're out in front. But in the water, there's no such thing as a pocket, because the water's hitting everybody the same. The current's hitting everybody the same. If anything, being behind somebody sucks if you're close, because you're getting all of their commotion and kick up and stuff from the water. I mean, he's absolutely destroying this final. I don't see anybody coming close. Even if there was running added in, I don't think that would help anybody. Now, on the girls' side, I think if running was added into this, I think that would allow someone like Tori to maybe make up for where she's struggling and dying right now. Because you got to remember, she's getting no breaks after just treading water for over 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I'm glad that you switched it over to the women, because I was actually going to do that too. Because if you just made it running, like your Tories, your Rachels, like I would be doing better than where they're currently ranked right now, pre-karma points. Like I think I'm more shocked, especially just because of that, like the asthma of it all. Even though asthma doesn't mean you will be bad, it just means you have a little bit of handicap there. That Jenny is just like dominating so hard in the water, but even then you're like, oh, she's dominating, then you just see Michelle right behind her constantly in the water. So like I think losing the vest also helped Michelle a lot in the swimming portion and just being able to free swim.
I think Michelle's a great swimmer. I mean, coming from Survivor, I don't really expect someone to be a bad swimmer from Survivor. Otherwise, especially a winner. I mean, she's never been voted out of Survivor. You know what I mean? So that means that not only does she have a good social game, but she can also hang when it comes to all the craziness that comes with Survivor. I'm not shocked at Michelle's performance. It would have been interesting to see what her performance would have been like if there was running, just given the nature of all the other girls who are there who are strong runners. I'm very shocked that Jenny, knowing that she has asthma, knowing that she was kind of honing in on a final, you know what I mean? Like once you got to that like 2-3 week away from a final thing where you're kind of gauging that you might be doing a final, I have no idea why she didn't stop vaping. I have no idea why she didn't stop vaping. I have no idea why she didn't have an inhaler on hand, doing all of these things. It could easily be provided where it needs to be as long as you ask for it. And here we are seeing her being dominant, but it seems to be a little bit of a foreshadowing with how she is acting that somebody could catch her, whether that's Michelle or whether that's Rachel. Once again, I think Tori, unfortunately, that elimination before the final isn't going to be good for her. I think if there was running, that would suit her better because then she's not just straight swimming the whole time, even though she is probably one of the strongest swimmers, if not the strongest swimmer. It goes back to the fact that there's nothing that helps you in the water. Like if you're running, if you're cycling, all of a sudden kinetic energy comes into play. Yeah. You can get yourself momentum and everything. There's no such thing as momentum in the water.
Yeah, there's no spot really where you can just like stop also and like just take a beat and then like kick right back in. You
and
just
depending on the current, if you stop, you may be pushing yourself back. More than you think. You
right?
Like gain 100 meters, stop for like 10-15 seconds, catch your breath, and you could lose 25 meters right there.
Yeah.
The most shocking thing for me on Jenny is we don't know how it's going to happen. I think a lot of things could happen. I wouldn't really be surprised. Too many different ways who's going to win the girls' side. But for all intents and purposes, she's in the lead right now. She's on the precipice of winning her second challenge championship, which we know on the female side. Yeah, and on the female side, that's a big deal to get that second one because that puts you in elite company. She's on the precipice of doing that. And has there just been a more just not unlikable, but just blah, I don't care about this person, 2-time champ on the challenge? Because that's where she's at. Because she's about to win her second, and I think I'm okay if we never see her on another challenge again.
It's like, because like the best person, and this isn't to be mean, but the best person you can compare her to is like a Casey. Whereas like, she's not on the show to be this big personality. She's not there to really entertain the fans that are watching. She's there to compete and essentially do a job. And so, like, in that sense, you're like, oh, this person's a powerhouse. But also at the same time, I'm like, unless her back's like extremely against the wall, she's not giving you anything. And even when her back is against the wall, it's just a woe is me. This all sucks. How could they do this to me? Even though I did it to them, but how could they do this to me? It's just not a very like inviting screen presence. As for the nicotine of it all, like according to Rachel, because Rachel has to comment on everything regarding the challenge, and again, I'll be talking about Rachel pretty soon.
She's taking Tina's advice. That's where that comes
and
from.
she really shouldn't, because I love
taking
Rachel.
Tina's advice and commenting on everything.
Yeah, but I feel like another thing with it, here's our classic ding ding ding, ring that bell. I'm talking about the old gens, the OGs. When people are doing criticism, it's not a lot of times. It's not even at you. It's about the circumstances around it. It's about the game mechanics. It's about production. But when you get so defensive about something, one, you bury the lead. You sort of give away the answer of what's going to happen, Rachel. But two, it's just you're not getting it. And then it becomes about you and about, well, maybe you aren't as good as you think you are type of thing becomes more of a reality. Anyway, with the nicotine thing, she said that Jenny stopped using the vape after the elimination with Anissa. My question would be, if you're going to be on the challenge, and I'm just going based off of what Rachel said. Even if that's the case, if you're going to be on the challenge, and in some way or another, if your goal is to get to that final, regardless if it's swimming, if it's running, if it's cycling, it's whatever. Distance running, distance anything, you shouldn't be vaping. Like, you should want your lungs as clear as possible to hold as much oxygen as possible so you can maintain the speeds that you need for long distances. You shouldn't be vaping heading into the challenge house.
The issue is that CT is a freak that can smoke and pull it off. And it's just like, CT's the exception. Nani's the rule.
Yeah, like, CT is the exception, not the rule. And I think too many people see CT go in there smoking a pack a day and just running and doing whatever, but he's also crazy. So like, he's got a different switch that nobody else has. So to go based off of what CT does, nobody should do. And I just have to comment, not everything needs a response on social media. I really don't understand why Tina and Rachel are always responding. It does come across as defensive. It does come across and like, they honestly shoot themselves in the foot, because like, what are you doing? Like, hinting at like how things are going to end. Like, that's just unprofessional. You know what I mean? Like, leave it up to people's imaginations. I mean, I knew what was going to happen on War of the Worlds 1, and the whole season, no matter what people were saying to me, I was just like, yeah, I'm running away with this season. Nobody's touching me. I'm winning all the dailies. I'm better than everybody else. I'm going to win this final. The $750,000 is mine. I knew how it was going to end. And when it ended, I got smoked online for it. But like, I knew that was coming. On War of the Worlds 2, I did the same thing and said the same thing. It was like, I'm controlling this season. I'm the mastermind. This is mine. I'm getting my first win. Fuck Jordan. He's not that good. And, I knew how that was going to end also. And the thing is, I find that much better for social media aspect of things. Like, I understand that there's like spoiler pages and stuff like that, but majority of people maybe aren't on those spoiler pages. So like, you don't need to hint at anything for your own ego. Like, just wait. Like, whatever might happen, it's literally one episode away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so like, just wait another week and just be like, either haha, fuck you guys, or be like, all right, yeah, you were right.
Right. Because I guess I'll put it out there. Of all, the karma points is a thing. And we know that they are teasing that the karma points create an outcome that isn't what the outcome would be without the karma points. There's only one person of the entire cast that is defending the karma point system.
Bananas.
And it is Rachel, who is currently in last place.
It's like, and especially so if it ends up taking her to first, or however it plays out, I don't understand why she would be defending it so much. I would be embarrassed, because Rachel, you're a badass. You had an awesome season where your back was put against the wall. You had this great moment. It got to the individual game, and you have cruised. I would almost be embarrassed if you're like, oh, I didn't win this season, but I did because people liked me. That's embarrassing for someone like Rachel, who has such a strong history.
And it's not just that. It's like, because I get it. The third win for a woman,
it ties you for first.
It's a crucial one. It's crucial. Yeah. It puts you on a pedestal above the field, essentially. It puts you with Evelyn, and then that's it. In terms of just wins. Obviously, quality of wins matters.
Technically Veronica, but those are the first three. We don't count those.
Veronica does not exist in my world. But anyway. So, but the issue is now you like, the audience is going to put an asterisk on it. But guess what? The cash still checks. You're still the winner based off the outcome of the season. We may not like the outcome because of the mechanics of the game, but a win is a win. So like kudos to you. But like let's say it topples any of the other three who like grind it out and actually get a true first place. That's where my problem lies, because in the final, that should be what's the determinant of who's a winner, not all these people who got eliminated having a say because they liked you. So because I liked you, Paulie, and you were in third place at the time, suddenly you're now in contention for first place because I gave you 5 and gave the person who's a challenge beats the 1. Like, we're not all going to be Jordan, who's going to rock the final and also have a killer game where everyone's also rewarding him for being a badass.
And also, like, essentially 32 people putting in karma votes is pretty wild. Like, I think that nobody eliminated prior to the halfway point should have had karma votes.
I agree.
I think that it should have been, the people from the middle point to the end, because I feel like that gives less karma points. I don't know how they were factored in. I don't know how they were added up, averaged, and then applied to the overall time. But it is a really big tell that Rachel is defending the karma points so heavily, especially seeing, and I'd be willing to bet, she probably had something to say about like the All-Stars 4 final of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I also would be, seeing how the fans reacted to the All-Stars 4 final and how they just didn't like that twist. I think if she would have came out while all of this stuff's coming and is like, karma points, like, bullshit. Like, I don't think the winner should be decided by karma points. And then she wins. Let's say hypothetically she does win. People are going to sit there and be like, all right, she won, but like she hates the karma points. Like, respect. You know what I mean?
Right.
That it's like, it's not going to take away the win if you get it. It's not going to take away the money if you get it. But, you're going to get brownie points in the realm of the people that watch the show, to do it. I don't think Bananas is happy about the karma points. I think that's going to negatively impact him in the final. And, who knows? Maybe he'd be singing a different tune if he thought he was going to have good karma points going into the final, and maybe it did sway the end. But I don't know. Like, I know Bananas well enough, and I feel like he would be the one that would, if he was benefiting from the karma point.
Mm-hmm.
We may have all lost each other. I saw everybody.
You're back.
I think we're good now.
You were saying that if Bananas benefited from the karma points, he would be stumping for it.
Yeah, I think if he benefited from the karma points, I think the way he'd be reacting online would be more so like, hey, do I agree with the karma points? No. Is it benefiting me? Yes. Does that matter? No, because I just do whatever the theme and whatever the twist in the game is, whether that benefits me or harms me, it has to do with the game, and I can't control it. So yes, I'm the winner. Yes, the money is mine. And sucks that it happened this way, but I still got that win.
Right. And I guess like you bring up the other side of it too, of like just the game of it all. Like, oh, well, it was a part of the game. That's the other issue with the karma points. That's the issue with the star giving and star passing in the All-Stars 4 final. It's like, yes, right, because Rachel's other argument is, well, this will never happen again, so it doesn't matter. I'm like, but it does. Because you didn't know that the karma points were actually a thing until it's finally revealed that you were being scored.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't know that. You can only know so much unless you overhear production at times. Like, we've seen that happen before with previous seasons with people knowing eliminations ahead of time. But this is different. This incentivizes bad TV. It incentivizes a bunch of people who will not want to cause drama, want to stick to the shadows, want to be silent, bow their heads and be very nice and thankful to everyone around them because they want to get the most points from these people if they were to be eliminated or whatever the new mechanic is that this would happen. This doesn't incentivize reality TV.
I think that instead of making it karma points, it should have been something along the lines of performance points. Because when you call something karma points, you're automatically saying to the people voting, how did people make me feel? Yep. What did they do to me? And it takes away from like a performance point. If you have that spin, it's okay. Yeah, this person got me. They fucked me over, but I'll tip my hat to them because they got me. Or, hey, yeah, they may have screwed me over, but they've been performing really well. So, I'm going to give that to them. And that would kind of take away from, let's say like a floater made it to the final, but everybody like loved him, or a layup, if you will. Let's say a layup made it to the final, but everybody loved him. And now all of a sudden that layup wins first place. People would probably be really pissed. Now, thankfully, there's no layups in this final, but still, people would be pissed if that was the case. But if you had performance points, doesn't matter if a layup makes a final, nobody's going to give them performance points.
Yeah.
Most likely. I'd say, out of curiosity, I know, Paulie, you had to do your ratings right after running into a brick wall twice. But by chance, do you remember who you rated of the people left? What karma points you gave them?
I know that I gave everybody on Era 4 5s because I wanted to see somebody from Era 4 win. So if anybody made it, I would have given that. I believe I gave Jordan a 5 just because I'm like, guys, he's a GOAT. I gave Rachel a 5 because at that point I thought she was going to be helping Cara out in the game. Tori, I gave 5s as well, surprisingly. And then on the guys' side, I think I gave Bananas maybe a 3 or a 4, just because it was like, my relationship with you is good, want to help you out, but you also voted Cara in. So I can't give you a perfect score, but I can show that I'm at least being logical with this ranking. And then Derek, I think I gave him a high score as well because I thought that he would also be looking out for Cara.
So you gave Bananas a higher grade than Laurel did.
Oh yeah, I did.
Tells you something.
Tells you something. I don't know why she gave him a 1 just to think it was funny. But that's just like
allegedly it's because of the quote unquote deal to get Cara to do one episode of the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast.
Yeah, but weren't they playing together up until she tapped out, and like wasn't Cara on the other side of that?
Yes, but Laurel, as we know, doesn't think in a strategic level.
Very petty. Very petty level.
Very petty. And it's funny though that you might be one of the higher scorers of Bananas of the 32 people outside.
I think of the 32 people, I may be one of the only ones that gave him high score. Maybe Aviv. Might
even
be
like Emily's probably
other one.
Oh
Emily, Aviv, maybe Leroy.
I couldn't. I've tried. I didn't hear what Leroy said because it like when he was talking, it sort of was jumbled a little bit, and I almost thought he was saying like, "Oh, I really want someone else to become like a new winner," but I could have misheard it.
But there's also no way that he gave like Bananas a 1.
No. I feel like he'd be like, "Oh, I need the doc. I need to give like Bananas some adversity. So can I give him a 4.5?"
Yeah, I don't know if Tony maybe gave him a low score. Tony may have been in the middle of the pack, but I really think that's it. I don't think there's anybody else that would have given him anything.
And you have to believe that Bananas, like as soon as it's like finally revealed at the front with all them, like Bananas knows like
He knows
crash.
he's screwed.
Like now he's like, well, I have to do so well now to not get last. Like I need to do so well just to make money.
Right.
Because like if we look at who's left, Jordan, I would say overarchingly got very good karma points outside of like a person here or there.
Yeah.
Bananas bad. Derek very good, I would say. Like probably the highest of the guys because it's based on social game.
Yeah.
And then Kylan, I feel like thinks he's high, but I would say he's like middle of the pack.
I would say he's middle. I can't see anybody on Era 1 giving Kylan high votes. I can't see anybody on Era 2 giving him high votes. I think Era 3 would kind of give him middle of the pack votes. Like I don't really think anybody was giving Era regardless, other than people on Era 4.
No, of the 4 guys, I think he placed third. I'd imagine it was Derek first in karma, Jordan second, Kylan then bananas.
Yes,
I
would
agree.
I agree.
Now, from the girls' side, the top will be, I think, will be Rachel.
Yeah.
Then, like, I actually think it's in the opposite order of how they're ranked right now. Like, I think Rachel is first in
Tori
karma,
second,
Tori second, Michelle third, Jenny last.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that being the case. Which is crazy because that would basically mean that like Rachel's the only one from like the Bananas Angels that like did a very good job of spreading out outside of the Bananas Angels to make sure she was working, getting those karma points. I think also Rachel benefits from the fact that everybody on Era 1 went home.
Yep.
And they probably all gave her 5s, except for maybe Anissa. And then she had great relationships with almost everybody in the house.
Yeah, I don't know who was docking her outside of like Devin. I don't know who was docking her and giving her low scores.
Yeah, because Rachel and Jordan sort of played in that similar way of like, even though Tina thinks Jordan's fake, the approach that from TV came across like, sure, some of it felt a little transactional, but really, you could really argue from your heart, be like, they were straight up. They were straight up with me this entire time. They're good competitors. I respect them. So I'm going to reward them with 5. I'm going to reward them with a 4. As opposed to like, well, Bananas was in my face this whole time. He was yelling at me. Can I give him something lower than a 1? Like that's like that just shows the different approaches to the game. And you could argue with Bananas that in his head, he was like, well, I had to play this way because of how the game was lining up, whatever. But it's like, again, it goes back to incentivizing, well, what's good TV? Like Bananas, arguably, as we said on the podcast, gave great TV. But this reward system, this like detracts from entertaining TV.
Yeah, no, I don't, generally I feel like a lot of these episodes is I've had my Bananas hypocrisy corner. I don't really have much of that from this episode outside of his one tweet where he said, oh, another twist against me. Like, imagine that. I'm like, did we forget about X's 2? Like the first ever redemption house that was a secret? I don't know. Like, every twist against you. Yeah, but outside of that,
did we forget about Rivals 3? The twist to allow him to get the money? Like,
did we also forget that, everything in an entire season comes down to like luck versus not luck, right? Like, I could go into an elimination, go against a brick wall in a hall brawl. Johnny could go against that same brick wall, only it is something where you have to, swim through poles, and, you're just a tinier guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think, like, when it comes to the challenge, like, I used to have the perspective of, like, and it's very easy to go into that mindset of, like, fuck, man, I got screwed over. This was done on purpose. But it's really not. Like, watching this season, I think a lot of things came down to human error. And I think that really, really, really annoys people. And once again, this is just a twist that you can't control. Like, at the start of the game, the producers aren't sitting there being like, we know Bonanza is going to piss everybody off. So if he makes it to a final, he's going to be fucked. Like, they expect, the game to just play out the way it is. So I don't think it was intentionally put there to screw over Jonny.
No.
Because let's be real, even if there were no karma points, he's not touching Jordan. So if anything, he's playing for second place.
You're right. And I guess my overall, just again, the issue with the karma points is I was talking to a friend about it who said that they liked it because they were like, well, I was like, well, why do you like it? They were saying, well, it does allow the social game to matter more. And I just came back with 2 points. I was like, well, one, outside of TJ half-assedly saying, remember to be good to your cast members because you never know what can happen. That's not that you can't say, oh, well, he said that, so that means they all knew that the social game. But my other thing was, well, you're saying you want a reward for the social game. The reward for the social game is you socialized your way to the final, and now you have a chance to win money. That's the reward. I shouldn't then get even more just because I'm more social than the person who can actually win. Because, let's say Jenny dominates the rest of this final, gets first in across the board moving forward somehow, outside the night component. If she loses the final, not because of the final, but because people just didn't like her, that's sort of bullshit. That's worse than us goofing saying oh, Hunter never won because Ashley stole the money. Hunter's still a champion. He just doesn't have money. But
right,
Jenny would no longer be a champion and she would no longer have the money.
Well, it's kind of like how, Cara lost All-Stars 4 because Laurel was able to skip 3 puzzles, because of her stars.
Right. And I was against that too. And I was reading Cara's post today for Q&A, and I was like, fucking Veronica again, helping someone else do it. But the premise of it, because I think Cara was even saying she was I would feel differently if it was this final at the very least, where I could prove that I would beat her if we were all doing the same thing. But because she got to run around and skip 3 puzzles and we all had to stop and do 3 puzzles, then we don't get a true answer of who would have won, even if the game afterwards was, oh, we hand out these stars and do that. So in this way, the karma points is better because you're still competing in the final, but the end result is still the same to me of well, this is sort of bullshit.
Well, yeah, it's all about the social game, and you're absolutely right, Alex, that's what you're rewarded for. In All-Stars 4, Laurel was rewarded because she didn't have to go into any eliminations for the social game that she had in that. You look at someone like a Derek in 40, his reward was he didn't have to go into any eliminations until the very end when there really wasn't any other choice. That should be reward enough, not, oh, we're then also going to help give you another leg up. Because, to be honest, if you're Derek, he doesn't really need it either. He has a chance to beat Bananas outright. But with you're factoring karma in it, Bananas now has a very uphill climb just to get second.
Right. Because, I will not be surprised at the end of this final, Jordan wins outright and then gets a bunch of karma points. Kindly gets last, gets a little bit of prop up with oh, you got some decent karma points, but stays in 4th. But then I could easily see the outcome of well, we have Bananas slightly beating out Derek throughout the final, but because Derek was more liked, their positions flip. Derek gets to win more money, even though on paper, Bananas beat him throughout. That's it's just that idea of it. It's a little icky to me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the final placements are on the guys and girls. That's for sure. Because Derek is a good competitor. I would like to see if, if he could actually catch Bananas, or if it is a karma point thing. I would like to actually see if Rachel could, get into 3rd or 2nd place, or is it a karma point thing, right? Because I think where people are probably going to be the most upset would be if Rachel was blatantly last place
and then leapfrogs the field,
and then leapfrogs the field. I don't think people would be upset if a 2nd place person leapfrogs to 1st place. depending on where the timing is. But I think
Right.
if you land in third place or fourth place and you leapfrog the field, that's where people are going to be upset.
And that's been the biggest thing, and it's been such an unknown all season, is how powerful are these karma votes. I still think the best thing would have been was day 2. I don't know if they're going to keep in these stages, but day 2 was generally, a race to the end. I think it would have made more sense to make it as a time penalty or an advantage.
I like what YouTube Bearcat said. I don't mind the karma points if it affects the money. So I think that would have been a great use of the karma points, where let it finish the way it finishes, and then the karma points could affect your money by a certain amount. So like, let's say you win first place, but your karma points suck, you could lose $100,000. You know what I mean? Depending on what your karma points in, they could like factor in and be like, oh, your karma points were bad. You're losing 25% of your winnings. You're using 50% of your winnings. You're losing 75% of your winnings. That way it's like, hey, you still got the championship, but you're not getting paid, and then it could affect the other people where they could get paid better if they come in first place with the karma points. It's like, I think that would be a wild twist. Like if second place got paid more than first place because of the karma points. That would be crazy. Yeah. And then John June Cook agrees with us, saying that Rachel and Tina have been defending karma points on Twitter too much for their taste. And we agree with you. We agree with you. Like you're telling on yourself. What's going on here?
Yeah, you're telling on yourself. You're saying that you did benefit from it, and Tina helped someone benefit from it. But like everyone did. There's 32 people that benefited and hurt the other 8 people there. But
all right, let's take bets now. Karma points involved. What are the odds that Tina and Rachel are going to be talking about the karma points after next week's finale?
I don't think you can get those odds. I
think it's 100%.
You would have to lose
chance.
money to make money.
I think it'd be 100% chance that they're going to talk about karma points before the episode starts, during the episode, and after the episode finishes.
Yeah, and like
Vegas ain't touching that line,
and possibly into Thursday.
Yeah, you can't touch. Yeah, you can't touch Vegas with this.
No, it'll keep going because the reunion show. We'll hear about it until All Stars 5.
I don't know if I've been seeing some of the clips come out from it, which sort of thankful, because then I don't have to watch as much of it. But it seems like there's some good spicy arguments within there.
In the reunion?
Yeah.
There's some spicy arguments. I feel like the reunion clips may have already given away what we're going to see.
The good stuff. Yeah.
Next episode.
But I will say, so like going to the final format, and this is me being a little more OG here, because like, and it's not even OG, because I feel like War of the Worlds was sort of more like this too, where it's like, I like a final that's continuously running. I'm not a fan of you do the checkpoint and then you stop for a period of time, and then you do another checkpoint and then you stop. I loved the like peak challenge final of a constant. Essentially, you're running the marathon in real time. You're not stopping at the checkpoint. You keep going past the checkpoint. Like they even did that in USA 2, and it was USA 2 was for the most part, outside the twist at the end, a good final, good run, good pace, good challenges throughout the way. And like, I get it. It's once you decide you're doing swimming as your main component, I would assume you need to sort of give those breaks, or else these people will actually die in the water outside of Jordan. But it's like, I hate the start and stops. It's just, it takes me out of it.
I love that it's individual. I agree with you. I do like the continuous aspects of the final. The thing about timed finals that I don't like are the fact that unless they're going to show the time as checkpoints are being crossed, there's no point. Like, I feel like there's a start, there's a finish, all the puzzles and stuff are integrated along the way. I'm not a fan of the stopping. The reason why I'm not a fan of the stopping is because, why? People are almost able to get their breath at, all right, we finished this checkpoint. rest for a little bit. We're going to set up the cameras, for the next shots. And that could take, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. You don't know. So, and even 30 minutes of rest in a final is a huge advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and like, I see people in the chat, like, sort of talking about, like, well, it gives some people the chance, like, that are bombing. But I'm like, or it's just going to keep repeating what's happening. Like,
well, continuous, even if you bomb a checkpoint, that means that somebody that's chasing you is going to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, for example, Kylan is bombing all the challenges here, every single checkpoint. He's not getting better because while the rest doesn't matter if you're not getting equal rest, Jordan's finishing so much ahead of the people. He gets extra rests over the field because he dominated. And so once you start up, he is more fresh than the person in last is fresh. So it's more of it's not even diminishing returns. You're separating the gap each time. It's going to get further and further away with each checkpoint between the first place person and the last place person. That's why, at least from the guide side, we're not seeing a change. Outside the first one, every single checkpoint is Jordan, then Bananas, then Derek, then a giant gap, and then Kylan.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly agree. I don't mind if they want to do checkpoints on day one, but I think day two should always be, because if you want to factor in head starts, time penalties, anything like that, I think that's where you factor that in the start of day two. And day two isn't checkpoints. It's just go. This is the beginning of the race. This is the end of the race. The first person across that line, TJ's there to congratulate him.
Right.
Not from what it looked at was we were teased on next time where they're all on the boat and it at least isn't abundantly clear who won.
I mean, at least it's not the Dirty 30 final where there's just a phone there and it's just TJ going.
Do you have to wait through two parts of the reunion?
Imagine that. Imagine that was the end result of, like, not only do you not know who won, we are not going to tell you the karma points until the reunion.
And they kind of did that with Vendettas too. Like, I mean, I think Cara knew she won, but like they waited until the reunion to like make it official. And it's like, imagine filming a show and then you got to sit for like 3 months until a reunion to be like, did I win? Like, I would go insane.
Like, all the
it made no
moments
sense
of the show.
It made no sense
getting to the top of the mountain with the giant fucking check.
Getting to the top of the mountain, getting up the mountain and down the mountain, getting on the mountain, up the mountain, in the water, to a boat. Like, these are all things that I think make, finals. Like, I don't know when it changed. You know what I mean? Because everything was pretty continuous on all the seasons that I did. There was no like stopping and breaking. And there were checkpoints, but I feel like because the things were timed, it was like a little crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I would say it's probably, I don't know, like the All-Star seasons a little bit, but even then there was still continuous. The Global Championships was was very stop and go. But I don't know. Whenever I see those, it just pulls me out. And
it started right after. It started right after Total Madness, because that's where they started having like eliminations in the final, because we didn't have any of that in the War of the Worlds.
Yeah,
but
I get we lost people, but you didn't stop to have a full-on elimination in the final where someone completed day one and then goes home because they lost in, like, Rogan lost to
and like I guess I do like the fact that it seems that in this final they're not going to send anyone home unless they physically can't go.
They can send Kylan home. He can go. Like, that's
no. Let him in his cramps. Which, by the way, getting cramps in the water is actually brutal. Like, I fully felt the leg cramps when he started like dying in the water. But it's like, I think I saw like Jordan talking about it. It's like they beg you guys, like beg production, like, to give you electrolytes, give you like something to have, like even if it's in between these checkpoints. And in my head, if you're having stop goes like this in a final, there's no excuse for them to not be replenishing for you. Like get you electrolytes, get you water, because this is no longer
at least
just
they
like
all
that
have
war of
camel packs
attrition
this time around.
Oh, man. But I will say, as negative as I have been about like the final setup, I've loved the night portion. It's different than what we've had in the past where it's just like just stand or you're gonna cycle forever. I love mental warfare. I love seeing
Jenny
people
doesn't.
crack. Well, no one likes
doesn't.
that Jenny can't cut it. Like I love Jordan just like snapping at her at the end.
It's fucking
Just like-
great. All right, so to wrap up how this first leg of the final is going, is there anything that could happen? I mean, I already know the answers on the men's side and the female side in order to change what we've seen first leg of the final as we go into the second leg of the final.
From the guys' side, the only competitive thing that you can focus on is Bananas versus Derek, because the first and fourth place is so fucking clear. And again, I do want to give props to Derek and Bananas, because in a world where Jordan doesn't exist, or even better, in the first episode of the season, Corey like grew a pair and actually tried to force Tori's hand into putting himself into elimination and her, or getting Jordan in elimination. Because guess what? It was balls in, and he lost that 2 or 3 times just in the last season that he was in. So there was a very good chance that Tony or Leroy could have beat him in that. And it's a whole different game.
Mm-hmm.
From the girls, I don't know. It's like, I get just given the pace, like I think Tori's going to burn out, and a big portion of that is just having to do the elimination beforehand. Not saying that she won't be competitive, but I think she'll ultimately be in last because Rachel's going to leapfrog. It's just a matter of how high she leapfrogs.
There's nothing that I'm really interested in on the guy's side. I think if Bananas even got his wish and Jordan got shot by a harpoon, I'm pretty sure he'd still win. Like, I mean, that would even change the outcome.
Look, in a world where Jordan wins a final where he broke his leg before the final truly began, a harpoon's not stopping him either.
And then unfortunately, because of all the Twitter stuff and all that it's alluded to, I don't think there's much that's going to surprise me on the women's side, unless like Michelle won. That would surprise me. But
I mean, she's not last.
No, she's not. But
Michelle's doing really good.
She is doing really well. But it's just, I don't know. It's odd because I don't really know what it's trying to show with the editing, because it's clear that at this point Jenny's in first. We know her karma points aren't going to go well, but we have her complaining here, and I felt like the entire episode, it's really shown her in a negative light. And it's like, if that's your champ, wouldn't you try to put them in a little bit of a better light, frame it some type of way better, which just makes me think that
I don't know. They didn't frame Emmanuel good on Battle for a New Champion.
Well, Emmanuel didn't frame
Amber's
himself
edit
good.
was non-existent in Spies, Lies, and not Spies, Lies, and Allies, Double Agents, or whatever.
Yeah, very true.
Casey's edit. It's just outside, like rolling over Tori and the one like that Hall Brawl style daily. Non-existent. Outside, I paired with CT and I fell in love with Nani. Like outside that, nothing. But
so it
maybe
just
there's
makes
a reason
me
why
think,
she's getting negative light. Rachel's getting positive light.
It makes me think that, that Jenny gets screwed, that she probably should have, if you take the karma out of it, won the final, and she's going to get leapfrogged probably by Rachel.
Now, this is why I desperately need, like, no offense to Tori, because I think we've discussed Tori is on our Mount Rushmores at this point, but I hope Rachel, through the competition, at least beats out Tori, because I can almost justify a third the first or a third the second. I cannot justify fourth place, dead last, to champion, three-time champion asterisk of winning.
I'll go a little bit against that. If you wanted to say it was a second to first, whatever, that's part of it. You're going to tell me that Rachel, if she's even in third, she goes from third and ends up leapfrogging and beating two others. No, I have a huge problem with that.
Oh, no, like, you don't understand. I have a huge problem with it, but I can understand it because of the rules that we are being given. Because Michelle's going to have mixed reviews leaning more negative.
Yeah.
And Jenny is just going to be overwhelmingly negative. And then if Rachel's overwhelmingly positive, through the mechanics of the game, I can justify that third to first because of who's in front of her.
Yeah.
All that I want is, so next week when it's done, I even say we wait a little bit of time. We really amp Paulie up, because we just want to let him go for the first 30 minutes, that if Rachel does in fact win, that all the OGs would be like, oh yeah, no, see, like, we still got it. And I just want Paulie to destroy them all for 30 minutes.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
We can give them a beat. We can give it a beat.
Yeah, it's gonna be a beat. I may even get involved in the Twitter spice, just kind of be like, yeah, okay, so here's the only time you guys won all season.
Mm-hmm.
There's asterisks next to all of them.
Right. And knowing what the final is now, do you think a part of Cara is laughing that she didn't have to do it?
I think she's very excited that she didn't have to do it. I think she's like, thank God I would have been in last place.
Right. And like, it's not even saying that she's a bad swimmer. I just think a lot of these people fall into the same wheelhouse of like, I learned how to swim growing up. I never learned how to swim miles in open water.
Yeah, and it's also she treaded water, and she's not as good a swimmer as Tori, and Tori's struggling. So it would have been even worse. I think if anything, Cara would have just been holding on to that thing and just kicking her feet, and that's it, and not even trying to swim. And it would have just been a funny edit of her just kicking her feet.
And honestly, I could have used that levity. So I would have still liked seeing Cara in there, because I also would have been so curious to see what her karma points would have been like.
I think she would have had good karma points.
Yeah, like outside of Laurel.
Yeah.
I feel like overwhelmingly the rest of the cast has come out in support of her, saying they liked her, they loved her on the season. So,
which also would have been funny if she was like so bad at swimming that she came in fourth place, and even with all of her karma points, she still got fourth place.
Oh my God. It's like
everybody's like, we love you. And Cara still fourth place. Be like,
And Cara still fourth place, not making money, but you were well loved. Or the total karma move is her winning with a bunch of karma points after what happened in All Stars 4. Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's the full circle moment you could have had production. So just think on that.
Well, you talking, it gave me the idea. Is I feel like the first leg in the water next time, Jordan should let Kylan like just hold on to his little buoy in the back. Be like, we're gonna throw you a bone here. Like I'll swim you there, buddy. Like
that'd be funny.
I will say, like, also flowers to Derek. Derek's comments throughout the episode were so funny. Like him having to just sit there for 3 minutes, seeing where Kylan was, like, oh, so I'm not last. Kylan's literally just right in front of me. Him calling out Jenny's hair at the end, also just
he had some dingers.
I was like, where was this Derek all season? Because I guarantee he was having confessionals like this throughout the show, and now they're just showing that, oh, Derek's funny.
Yes. I think he's really funny. I think they could have utilized that all season, but they haven't.
Yeah. It's really weird when you just look at the last 4 guys that it's like, okay, so we're giving Kylan mostly a positive exit because we're going to watch him crash and burn at the end. Bananas, we were going to give him his time where he was carrying the show for a few episodes. Yeah. And then Derek, we want to make sure we give him his flowers those last 3 or 4 episodes because he's had a great season. But Jordan's here and it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a fight for second. Honorable that you're competing, but it's a fight for second.
That's
Whereas the girls are at least fighting for first. But yeah, it's like you said at the beginning of the episode. Jordan, clear front runner. We will never see a more dominant final performance from start to finish. And obviously, we're speaking before it's done.
I'm fairly confident
it's done. Yeah,
it's done.
Like, Vegas isn't letting me bet on this.
In the bag.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like a halftime of the Falcons versus the Patriots in the Super Bowl. This is
It's Kylan's not coming back from this 28-3 moment.
Yeah, it's a blowout. No, everybody at this point, everybody's losing 28-3, and nobody's.
I was gonna say Bananas is losing 28-3.
Yeah,
Kylan, he got mercy ruled.
Yeah, it's like 41-0 to Kylan.
Yeah, he got the little league where we just call it after 3 games.
The lights are off. The lights are off. Everyone went home, but for some reason, that team is still like going out there and trying to compete when no one else is there. Like that's Kylan.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say about Jordan that's really cool is he articulated it well in this, that he's essentially used the challenge, as we talked in the past, as his own ATM, and he's just used it to advance and be like, oh, I want to get into, like fashion. I won here. We'll use it for this. And now it's like racing. And he essentially just goes back to the challenges it's bank to keep going after what he really wants to do in life.
Hey, and that's what reality TV is for. Win your money, get your bag, and use that money how you want in your real life.
Imagine having a personal ATM of just winning a couple $100,000 every couple of years.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm a little bored. I'm a little strapped for cash right now. Yeah, I can do this season. How long? 8 weeks, and I get to win. How much?
Easy.
Okay, I'm in.
Especially now where first place is getting like minimum $250,000 at this point. I mean, it's obviously more here, but the last handful of seasons on the low end, it's $250,000.
You're getting a minimum.
Yeah.
And I'd be remiss before we leave to not read this comment because it just made me laugh so hard, because we will be doing All-Stars 5 coverage. YouTube Bearcat said, hope there will be lots of swimming in All-Stars 5 just because I love Leroy so much.
Why would you like swimming then?
He wants Leroy to grow. He wants Leroy to grow. Him putting Nelson in there too with his upside down goggles, just like, get them all in there. Get everyone in the water. More water, people.
No, we'll be covering All-Stars 5. You're home for Handjob Steve coverage. But
Handjob Steve coverage is coming.
Yeah. But I think that's going to wrap it for us. We have one more episode left. Finally, almost there. We started this journey back in August, and here we are. So that's exciting.
Here. We did it. We did our own triathlon.
We really
5 months. 5 months. That is something.
But we will be back next week, sometime right after the episode. We'll try to get something up for you a little bit quicker this time, just with the New Year's. A little bit of stuff going on. But that'll do it for us. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell. That way you get notified every time we go live, because we are going live again. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast app, please rate and review. Give us 5 stars. It helps us out tremendously. And as always, the best way to support the podcast is become a patron at realitypatron.com. Sign up for a month. If you don't like it, we will give you your money back. And we will see you all next week.
See ya.
See ya.